At my 6-week OB visit, it was kind of like, how are you feeling? Are you having upsetting thoughts, etc.? And at that time, I wasn't. Following that, I kind of just thought, well, I guess I'm good. I was sort of the last of my close girlfriends to have a baby, so I heard a lot of horror stories, to be honest. I had friends who'd had postpartum depression and really struggled in that. When I first had Betty, I actually felt pretty good because I felt confident in my ability to care for Betty right out of the gate. I sort of thought I was out of the woods for that kind of mood disorder and didn't expect it to happen later. At about 4 months, she wasn't getting into any sort of sleeping pattern, and I started to be obsessed with how much she was sleeping, compared to other babies, compared to what I read on the internet that she was supposed to be sleeping. And I think the lack of sleep that I was getting just compounded my anxiety to the point where I was just sobbing uncontrollably. And I've always been a crier, but this was to the point where I couldn't stop. I just felt like I was being a good mother and she was returning the favor by not sleeping, never letting me sleep. I remember after a jag of crying, saying I'm gonna call the Motherhood Center and finding that heart to say to my husband, I need to receive help.
And I want everyone to think about their intentions for today and why they're here.
The Motherhood Center is really one of the first of its kind clinical treatment facilities for pregnant and new moms that are having a very difficult time making the transition to parenthood. We fill the day with different kinds of clinical skills groups, support groups, interventions ranging from art therapy to mindfulness and meditation. And every mom is followed by a therapist and a reproductive psychiatrist. It's a treatment that we know works undeniably.
What was the hardest part? I think the hardest part was feeling so much love for Betty, and then also feeling so much anger at the same time.
Right? We oftentimes think it has to be one feeling or another, but it can be a range of feelings, and it's okay.
It felt wonderful to see other women who were going through the same thing as me from all walks of life. Yeah, it was really affirming to see that other people are going through it and that it's very common, and it's sort of a thing that I knew was common, but I was going to moms groups and stuff. It didn't seem like any of them had it really. So I sort of thought, well, it can't be that common if none of us have it. But when you talk about it, you learn that some people have had it that you didn't know. So, yeah. I think a lot of people do think of the absolute worst case of what's happened with postpartum depression or anxiety and think that's what it's all like. A myth about postpartum that scares a lot of women and scared me is that if you share the scary thoughts you're having, they're going to take your baby away. But for the majority of people, that's not the case. And a lot of the times you'll share those thoughts, especially in here, and people say, oh yeah, I've thought that too. I think it was just because my baby's leaving the room. Betty. Now I am doing great. You know what? Mothering a toddler is always going to have challenges, but if I'm feeling mad, if Betty frustrates me, when Betty frustrates me, she's almost 2. She's becoming her own person, and she's defiant, which is both adorable and frustrating some days. But I learned some skills here that help me to this day, and that has been phenomenal. So I feel really good. I just think that even if you don't have a place like the Motherhood Center near where you are, there is somebody who will help you. You have to advocate for yourself. And that may seem like the hardest thing to do at first, but if you can do that and let a doctor know, I'm really struggling and I need help, whether that's medication or therapy or whatever, that's the first step and you will feel better.
My name's Annie, and I'm a scary mommy.